Welcome to the wild world of the diagnostic laboratory industry, where we focus on science, compliance, sales marketing, and self-mastery. Welcome to Lab Results with Blake. I'm your host, Blake Bork.
What a week, what a week, what a week. It is Friday in my life. We're approaching Christmas. We are wrapping up the fourth quarter, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about target setting for the new year and where's your mind at with what are you going to do with the last 2 weeks of this year? All right. So if you don't have an intention for how you're going to deal with the next 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks is just going to steamroll you. That's what my coach, Brian Q. Davis, told us yesterday. And it is the truth, right? We've got bowl games that are coming up for college. We've got family camping trips. We've got Christmas. For us, we have such a large family. We got Christmas Eve, Christmas, and the day after Christmas. It's all one big holiday for us. And then we come into New Year's Eve, traveling between the 1st and the 8th, going, in our RV and a camping trip, us getting away. And how are you and me, how are we going to hit our targets and make sure that we finish this year out strong? We start Q1 of 2024. A lot of problems with sales organizations and with laboratories in today's world is that they don't start Q1 production until late February. They don't even get their sales targets and their sales goals for 2024 until maybe late February. And that's a huge mistake, obviously, because we're not dealing with a 10-month year. We're dealing with a 12-month year. And so when you come in to 2024, you should be laser focused on what your targets are and know what your goals are going to be, not only for that week, that month, that quarter, but for the whole year. It's your opportunity to be able to fast forward to 2025 and predict what your life is going to look like when you get to 2025. So I just want to talk with you around this idea of target setting for your entire year and then coming into what that quarter needs to be. Okay. So my 2025 targets and goals, right? I'll just give you some very general targets. I'm looking at what my body is going to look like, right? I'm looking for what my relationship with God is going to look like. I'm looking at what my family is going to look like. And I'm looking for what my business and my bank account is actually going to look like, all right? So when you project out in your mind, right, you got to really think, where are you at right now? Where are you at inside of your body? Where are you at inside of your relationship with God? Where are you at with your wife and with your children? Where are you at with your business and your bank account, your last commission check, your P&L statement, right? And so I'm not very happy with my body right now. I injured my back a couple weeks ago. A lot of travel. A lot of tight, cramped car rides and airplane rides. I'm doing as much yoga and as much stretching and ice and heat as I can kind of tolerate at this point. But I'm not happy right now with my body, and it has nothing to do with my workouts. It has to do with my cookie addiction. I love cookies. I'm eating cookies left and right. And so it's my weakness right now. And it has a lot to do with the fact that the proximity of the cookies to my hand, because they are literally on my path from my office through the kitchen to the family room. And I can stop by the pantry at any time I want to, and I can go ahead and put my hand in the cookies, and I can get 6 of them out, and they fit my hand easily. And I can just walk, and I can finish 6 cookies by the time I get to my office. Like, I'm a cookie monster right now. And so they're just empty calories. So I got to ask myself, why am I sedating with cookies right now? Because it's throwing everything off. All the work that I am doing inside of my body. And honestly, even though I've hurt my back, I have still been raising my heart rate. I have still been doing yoga. I've still been stretching. I've been putting work in. I haven't been idle. My watch will tell me that. And some of these yoga workouts that I'm doing, these Tai Chi workouts that I'm doing right now, like, my watch is giving me like props for it. And the next morning when I wake up, they tell me to take it easy because it was that hard. I'm sore because of the stretching routines that I'm doing right now and these bulletproof routines that I'm doing right now. But the cookies are ruining it. And so, in what other areas of my life am I having amazing success in one area, but my results are being hindered by something that gives me pleasure, like a cookie, something that makes me feel good? Let's examine. So if I go over to my spiritual relationship with my God, I have taken that thing to a completely another level. I never really thought I had a relationship with God before. I don't think I was praying right. I don't think I wasn't reading the Bible. I have this in the last 90 days. I've read all of John, all of Luke, all of Matthew. I'm halfway through Mark. And I've also listened to all of the gospel according to Jesus. And in the last 6 weeks, I took this Origins of the Bible course that super fascinating. I've also listened to a couple of courses in bad theology. I've watched the Gospels on Amazon. I watched 3 seasons of Chosen. I immersed myself in it. And I got no problem, talking openly about this now. It is something that I am so glad that I found. It is something that I was missing in my life, and it doesn't mean that I'm by any means perfect, and I'm not. I don't feel like I'm treating it like it was a born again type of a situation, but yet I have these amazing gains. And there's still areas in my life where I'm being held back because of pleasure. I'm being held back because of pride. There's still areas where I'm still holding grudges against people. There's still conversations that I don't want to have because I want to punch them in the face. If you don't feel me there, then you maybe aren't being honest to yourself. But there are serious areas. There's areas in my life where I'm triggered by lust. There's area in my life where I'm triggered by greed. There's sometimes where I want to lie, to soften the actual conversation for whoever I'm talking to. Like I'm doing all this work, no different than the body. I'm doing all this work, working out, doing a good job. The cookies are setting me back. Doing all this work, praying and reading and studying. My pride is setting me back. My flesh is setting me back, right? So I'm never going to really get the gains that I want to get there because I have this thing, this flaw that I got to expose and I have to control. Let's continue. So we go into balance, right? That's my family. My wife and I are communicating. We are working as a team. We are working as a partnership. We love each other. It's the best. The last 90 days is honestly, I can tell you, it's probably the best my marriage has ever been. From my standpoint, I think Jenny would agree as well. And yet, there are still these places inside of our marriage that need work around our communication. There's still things that I do that trigger her, and there's still things that she does that trigger me. Now, I don't think I would compare. There used to be a time in my life where I would talk to another man and I could give him advice on finances. I can give him advice on weightlifting. I can give him advice on business. I couldn't give him advice on marriage. I couldn't tell him how because I was so lost there. I had no idea what to do. And I'm at the point now where I got no problem talking to somebody about what to do because I put the work in there to rebuild it. And so I'd probably say right now, out of my 4 domains, that's the one that I feel the best in. You're going to shine in one of them. I didn't even think 6 years ago that would ever be the case in my life. And marriages go through ups and downs. They all do. But when you put in time and you put in effort and you put in the work, there are things that you're doing that are working, and there are things that you do that aren't working. You have to stop doing. So the question, whenever you reach to a place where you're like, man, it's good enough. You got to test the story because it's like, when's the last time you went on a date night, Blake? Been a while. Having a hard time engineering a babysitter to show up for my very aggressive 21-month-old son, Bruce. Bruce is a beast. This kid is full blast. He loves to play. He loves to wrestle. He loves to laugh. He loves to throw. He loves to slap. He loves to hit. It's a lot for people to handle because he's constantly trying to kill himself. Because he's a boy, right? Different than my girl. So yeah, your marriage is good, That sounds awesome. When's the last time you went on a date night? Right? There are these windows that kind of like expose cracks in your foundation, because if you can engineer a commercial laboratory, if you can engineer sales efforts, if you can figure out how to do a freaking podcast, right? But you can't get a babysitter to show up to your house, I would challenge you, you're working on the wrong problems and you're avoiding solving one that really matters. Why are you avoiding date night with your wife, right? So even if you think that domain is amazing and it's going great, if you sit down and go through the process of examining what's working and what's not working, and you really look at it, you realize there's room for improvement. Yeah, you've done a good job getting to where you're at, but you could be better. You could be better. And that could be the thing that's missing to get you and your spouse on the same page. That is going to get you to the next level inside of your business. So let's go to business. So taking an inventory of my business, I would not say that this year was a stellar year for me. And that's because a lot of time and energy was put into the wrong areas. We could call it trusting the wrong people or taking the wrong advice. Ultimately, I'm responsible for my results. But I put a lot of money into processes last year and even the year before that weren't complete, weren't executed. And to be quite honest, I was paying for them, but I was never all in on them, because it was kind of like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And you never want to be that with your money. You don't want to be that with anybody else's money, right? But when you look at these targets that you're going to set for yourself, you better be damn sure it's what you actually want. And if you're not, praying to your God and doing a cross check with your wife about your business target, or doing a cross check for your body with your business target, like, I can't fly all around the country and grow a laboratories business like I did in 2015 and 16, because I now have young children. I made the mistake of thinking that I can do that. I was talked into doing that by somebody, thinking that it would work. And I failed miserably, man. Honestly, I struck out. It's nobody else's fault besides my own. When you look at what you did right and what you did wrong in 2023, the whole year from a business standpoint, one easy way to figure out where you're at is to look at your bank account look at your bank account on December 31st, 2022, and then look at it on December 31st, 2023, and your assets. If you have more money, you probably won. If you have less money, you probably lost. Your stories don't matter. The scale. You gain weight, depends on what your goals are. You lose weight, depends on what your goals are. Be the same thing for business. You could have paid off some debt. You could have invested in some real estate or some assets. But if you look at your actual net asset value, and you look at what your P&L statement is for your life, you got more money, you're winning the game. You got less money, you're losing the game. And you just got to have a sobering reality check whenever you're looking at these things. So go out and predict where you want to be in 2024. You go to December 31st, 2024. Where do you want to be inside of your body? Where do you want to be inside of your being, your relationship with God? Do you want it to be on fire? Do you want to have a relationship with Him? Do you want to convert? Do you want to go to church? Do you want to minister to people? Do you want to just read the entire Bible? Whatever religion you practice, whatever God you serve Them and grow inside of that relationship. When you look at your family, is it more kids? Is it date nights? Is it family meetings? Is it being able to have the time to be a coach? Is it committing to be a coach? Like, how are you going to serve your family? How are you going to lead your family? And inside of your business, man, put that money target out there, because you can then reverse engineer what it's going to take to get you there, to get super clear on what your targets and your results are. You're not always going to win. But what you do need to do is always do the things that you say you're going to do. And that starts by playing the daily game. So let's go from 1 year to a quarter. So we come into the next 3 months. I'm going to tell you what my actual targets are for the next 3 months. I want to lose 6% body fat. Guys, I'm probably sitting at the mid-20s right now. I am a big guy. I'm a tall guy. I got a lot of muscle mass, but at the end of the day, man, I got this cookie problem. All right. So I want to lose 6% body fat. The way I'm going to do that is with 36 mixed martial arts workouts and 48, I call it warrior proof yoga. And I'm going to record these. And so I'm going to set up my studio over here so that way I can actually record these. It's a mixture between your yoga warrior poses and some of the Tai Chi type fighting techniques that you would do. But the whole part of this process is to be able to have, for me to have mobility and for me to be able to have length and breathing techniques as early in the morning as possible. So this is just going to be basically my morning routine. The 36 MMA workouts, that's 2 jiu-jitsu classes and at least 1 boxing class. That's basically 3 times a week for 12 weeks. Hit the diet. So I'm working out every single day with this program. All right. And I have some variations. Now, if I run, if I decide to do a half marathon, if I decide to ride my bike, that's just on top of. But these are the minimum to get me to lose 6% body fat over the next 90 days. And my being, I am going to write 12 study guides. My coach inspired me to do this. I'm going to take the actual miracles that were performed in the Bible. There's 4 miracles around parents with children who were either sick, hurt, in danger, or passed away. There's 5 parables or teachings in the New Testament. That's four miracles, 5 parables / teachings. And then there's 3 from the Old Testament that I'm going to use. There's more, but I'm going to use 3 from the Old Testament. That's 12 altogether. So every week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to read it. I'm going to study it. I'm going to invest some time and some energy into some other resources. I'm going to watch a podcast or 2 around it, and then I'm going to write my own study. I'm not going to say sermon, but I'm just going to do my own Bible study around that and prepare myself, because I want to have conversations with men and women who have lost their children. And I want it to come from a spiritual place and be based on scripture. And I want to align what happened to me and my wife with that. So this means a lot. So I'm being very intentional with every week. This is where my mind's going to be at. And this is, I'm going to read my normal study Bible process. I'm going through Mark after Mark. I'm getting into the book of Acts after Acts. I'm going to read the epistles. After the epistles, I'm probably going to start the Old Testament. And then just, keep on motoring through. So that'll be in addition to, this is my challenge. For balance, my wife and I want to have more children. And so we are either going to adopt or we're going to do a gestational carrier. And we've got one lined up and we've met with the fertility experts. And so fingers crossed, we'll see. We still have 3 embryos from our daughters, Charlotte and Sophia, in 2009. And so, you'll hear from me if we end up being pregnant, but we putting it out there. You got a baby that, there's a teen mother or a mother out there that would like to give the gift of adoption to a family. We would absolutely entertaining, even with the addition of a pregnancy, we would absolutely entertaining adopting another child. I'm okay with having 4, 5, 6 kids at this point. I love children. I feel like it's going to make me young. I don't see a cap on it at this point in my life. The more children, the better. I love being a dad. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I have 2 children right now, and more is for me is what I want. And so that's an actual challenge for us, because if it's not on our list to do, then, we've put it off. We put off adopting Violet for 8 years. We were trying and we didn't even think about it. Once we adopted Violet was 5 before we adopted Bruce. And it was the same type of situation. It was like, We were so happy with what we had, we didn't want to tempt fate. And once you start a relationship with God, you realize there is no tempting fate. You know, I'm not tempting fate with my good luck because there's bad luck. That's not how God's grace works. That's not how your Lord works. So these things are connected, but for my family, I want to expand it. So it has to be written down in Q1. These are the things I'm going to do. And they're on my big board. Like I'm looking at them right now. Right. And then, finish taxes. So we're going to be complete with, 2023. We got to do some tax stuff. We got to clean some things up there. Even though you don't make as much money as you want to, if you still make money, you still got to pay taxes. And when you're self-employed and you don't have the FICA thing, that's a thing. So we got to deal with the tax man. And I'm extremely interested in growing the coaching business, but specifically the training videos that we're doing. And I want to launch a couple of products that are around compliance and the clinical applications of what we do inside a diagnostic lab. And get these things to become standards. And so, cash flow positive as that business unit is the target. And I need to do some more work on specifically what I'm going to do to get to there. Okay. So that's my quarterly goals, right? So then now you come in and you play the weekly game. There are 12 weeks in this 90-day challenge. And every single week, when it comes to January 1st, we're going to look at what our targets are. And we're going to set them. And between one Sunday to the next Sunday, we are going to be looking at those specific targets and what needs to happen for me to move closer to those goals. What needs to happen week to week to week. And every week I'm going to sit down and I'm going to say, okay, cool. Did I do my 3 MMA workouts? Yes. Did I do my 4 warrior proof yogas? Yes. Were they recorded? Yes. Check. Cool. What worked? What didn't work? Are you on track or are you off track? When I look at my being easily measurable right here, right? Did you write your study? Did you do your study guide on the miracles, the parables, or the 3 parables from the Old Testament? Did you do them? Yes or no? It's simple. At that point, it's like yes or no. Okay, good. What'd you learn from them? What was your biggest revelation from doing them? This is a very explicit process. I'm not talking about the stuff off the top of my head. I actually enter this into software. I actually go through this process. It's called the General's Tent. We go through this process as part of our training in my accountability group that I'm in. This is the stuff that I actually offer to my clients as well. So we bring them into a place where their life becomes, they're in control of their targets, and they're with a group of men and women who are all wired the same way. It's a beautiful thing when you can encourage somebody that you care about, but they're not connected to you in the way of like money or material. Like the men that are in my group, I love them for who they are, and I give them real advice, and I ask them tough questions, and we make fun of each other, and we have banter, and we can pick on one another in a playful way. But ultimately, like I care that they hit their targets. The same board that I'm looking at, I can tell you what my buddy Alex is doing, what my buddy Lewis is doing, what my buddy Raul's doing, what my buddy Sam's doing, because it's on the same board. Like, how many employees do you know what their weight loss goals are tomorrow? How many employees do you know what their spiritual relationship is going to be like? What's their actual family target? How many of them do you know how much money that they're going to make and what they want to save and what they want to do with their business? So when you have that type of exposure to other people's targets, and you're sharing your targets too, and you're declaring those targets to the world and to them, they hold you accountable. You put light on it, and you're all praying together, man. You're all working together. They're asking questions, and we meet like a boardroom, right? So that's the other thing that's so cool about my life right now, is that I'm not playing this game alone. I'm not. And there's a process. So every morning I wake up, when I read my Bible, I drop a 2-minute audio into my group. Every single day I do my stack. I'm stacking whatever trigger happened to me that I'm raging about. And I'm putting it through this 40 question process. It takes me like 45 minutes to do it. It's the best 45 minutes of my day. Every single Monday, I meet with my team. It's like a board meeting. These men ask me questions about my business. We check in, we purge together, we win together. Every single Thursday, we have training on how to become better leaders, better fathers, better husbands, better team members. And every Friday, I check in for the commitment that I made on Monday. And so this process works, and it works so well. These guys are blowing up. Every aspect of their life is getting better. And it's getting better because of God's grace. It's getting better because their work is pure. It's getting better because they've raised their integrity. It's getting better because they've proven that they can be consistent, because they're keeping promises to themselves. And so as we look at setting these targets, right, not every day is going to be perfect. And if you stay honest inside of this process, every day you can get better. My old coach, Coach Joe Klein-Peter, used to say this. He'd say, every day, Blake, for the rest of your life, you're either going to get better or you're going to get worse. You're never going to stay the same. And it's hard to imagine that, because it's like, well, some days I am stronger, but I have more money in my bank account, but I lied to my mom. You know, like, how do you do it? Well, when you break it into 4 domains, your being and your spirituality is the foundation. And on top of that foundation, you have your body, you have your family, and you have your business. Right? Every day, you get better or you get worse. You never stay the same. So my prayer is that this particular podcast, that you were able to listen to it, you're following along, not to figure out or be entertained by me, but so that way you can challenge yourself, and you can sit down and you can set a clear body target. You can set a clear spiritual target. You can set a clear family target, and you can set a clear financial target. We call it body, being, balance, and business because the B's make sense. But take that and put it on paper, and then drive your ass every day to get out of bed and work and do the work, and your life will be better for it.
You've been listening to Lab Results with Blake, with your host, Blake Bork. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Remember, greatness is contagious.